Good morning from Panhandle Outdoors with Winston Chester. Panhandle Outdoors, your source for fishing, hunting, and information for folks who enjoy the great outdoors. Now sit back, relax. It's Panhandle Outdoors.
Good morning, folks. Welcome to Panhandle Outdoors. I'm Winston Chester. I'm so glad you're here this morning. Got a great show lined up. But first, our weather brought to us by Haney Technical Center at the corner of Baldwin and Highway 77. High today is going to be 87 and low 72, and the water temperature is 82. So we're getting in good shape right there. The chance of rain is about 40%. Let's take a look at our river readings. The river is right. It's dropped down again. The big river is down to 4.8, and a lot of old timers, when it gets below 5 and 6, they're out there fishing. So the mayfly hatch we talked about last week, the mayfly hatch is going strong. Had a lot of wind this past weekend, so it's they're blowing around too. The chocolate hatchet at Carrotville, it's a roller coaster and again on us. It's at 5.2 this morning, and it is rising. By Thursday or Friday of this week, it's going to get on up to 7. So if you like to fish rising water, got to get those trot lines out and all, it'll be a good time to do it on the Choctawhatchee River. Our tide chart brought to us by Kent Forest Lawn Funeral Home and Cemetery. Today's Wednesday, May 27th, and looking there on the screen, we're continuing these neap tides all week long, just not a lot of tidal flow. We've had some strong south-southeast winds, and it's keeping that water pushed up in the northern part of the base systems all throughout the Panhandle. So be aware of that. But it's been really choppy, so you want to fish over on the eastern side of the bank if you get a chance in that situation. Our marine forecast south-southeast at about 5 to 10, and it's not going to blow quite as hard as it has on through the weekend and all, but it's going to blow. Let's close out this weather section. I want to go ahead and mention this. I know some of you folks, especially folks down in Gulf County, have already heard the news. Our good friend, Captain Blair Morgan, has passed away. A lot of y'all felt like you knew him personally because we would get our weekly report from Blair on Apalachicola and St. Joe Bay. Blair and I have been friends since childhood, and knew our parents and grandparents and all. But I'm not going to talk a lot about it this morning. I'm going to do a tribute to Blair later on when I have time to do a really good thorough job on it, sit down and put together a piece on Blair. But tentatively, the services will be held this Saturday at the Methodist Church right there in Port St. Joe, and I'll let you know the time and all later. So with regret, we announced the passing of Captain Blair Morgan. All right, let's take this break and we'll be right back. All right, welcome back, and our guest today, Officer Travis Basford.
Good morning.
This is young Ken Paramore. We've said so long to Ken on the show and all, but Travis has stepped up here, and I was tickled this morning. He came up here. He just had some notes. He's well organized. Well, you see, I've closed my book, so I don't have to do anything. I'm gonna let Travis talk. But Travis, good to have you, buddy.
Yes, sir. Good to be here. Good to be here, and I guess we'll start out with talking about the red snapper.
Well, let's talk about. It's interesting you said this, but we were going to talk about it, and I can tell a lot what's going on by just going to Facebook and social media, and then a couple of phone calls here and there, and I was surprised at the lack of red snapper that I saw, and then you came in this morning and telling us some statistics. So let's go ahead and talk about it, because I know you were out there.
Yes, sir.
Memorial Day.
Yes, sir. And as y'all know, Saturday was opening day of red snapper for state waters, and it was surprisingly slow out there. We checked several boats, at least 30 to 40 boats, and we probably only saw maybe 4 or 5 limits.
Wow.
So it was, compared to last year, almost everybody had their limit of fish, their 2 fish. And this year we did see some quality fish. Mm-hmm. But when it came to limits, it was, and I don't know, we were talking earlier, the moon was right. There was a northeast wind, but maybe that pressure from that front.
I really think that pressure has something to do with it, because what I noticed last year, everybody was bragging about, I was back home by 8:39 with my limit. I didn't see that this year.
Exactly, exactly. So it was tough for some people, and then it kind of felt like old snapper season. It was opening in April with that cool north wind out there, but. Yeah, that was the big thing this weekend. It was Memorial Day weekend. Red snapper did open. Saturday was the best day to fish if you could go, because it started to get rough Sunday and got even worse yesterday.
Yes, it did.
But
well, was your whole Memorial Day weekend? I know that's a super busy weekend for y'all. Was it pretty uneventful and pretty good overall?
It was busy. thank the Lord we didn't have any bad boating accidents, at least in Bay County. There were some to the west of us in Okaloosa, but most people were doing what they're supposed to on the water. We had a couple BUI arrests, but a lot of people had designated drivers, and that's what we want. That's what we want. We want compliance, and if you want to go on the water and drink alcohol and have a good time, that's fine, as long as you have somebody that's sober that's going to drive the boat.
Yeah, that's good.
So,
good.
Back to Snapper, I just want to touch on that and let everyone know that it did open this past weekend, 2 fish per person, 16 inches. And then we did get the federal seasons released a few weeks back, and that's going to open up June 1st for private recreational anglers. The new thing this year with the federal season, is going to be sector separation as far as recreational snapper in federal waters. And the separation is going to be between your recreational charter fishermen and then your private recreational anglers. So in years past, they had the same seasons. And this year, with the separation, the private recreational anglers, they're going to get a 10-day season from June 1st to June 10th. And the charter fishermen, the charter captains, they're going to go from June 1st to July 14th. So they're going to get a little longer season there. And there's pros and cons of that, and there's push on either side.
I know this. I know that a lot of folks upset about it. I know a lot of recreational fishermen are upset about it. I do know that.
They are, and I'll just say this, because when I said this last time on the show, when I'm not working, I'm out fishing, and I love to snapper fish. I love to do all that stuff, and I've been to these meetings with the Gulf Fisheries Council. And if you're a private recreational angler, I'll encourage you to go to those meetings, because when I've attended those meetings, the main number of people there are charter captains.
And you got what he just said now is so important, and we've talked about it on the show. And if you're sitting at a table and you got a room full of people and 90% of them want something, you're probably going to go with that 90%. And I've heard it over and over again, and that's what's going on. We just don't have a voice in those meetings.
Exactly, and they've been pushing for this for years, and it's something that the charter captains want, so they can extend their season, and they're doing this to make a living. So, but this is the first year that they're doing it, and it's going to be different, and we'll see where it goes from here. But so again, that's going to open up on June 1st, federal season that extends out past 9 miles, okay, all along the Gulf, and back to the state season. We went over this last time, but just to let y'all know, it's going to be open until July 12th, red snapper in state waters. So, again, that's for private recreational anglers. So, until July 12th, and then it's going to go after the Labor Day weekends only through November 1st. So, it'll be your Saturdays, Sundays, and the one day that's not going to be a Saturday and Sunday is actually Labor Day, so on Monday, that Monday there. Yeah. So, but yeah, that's the deal with snapper. Again, we saw some good quality fish, but it was kind of slow. And I think when these seas calm down and things get back to normal with that pressure, I think we'll see, because the fish are out there.
Yeah, I think this weekend is going to be good. We're going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back. All right, welcome back. Sitting here with FWC Officer Travis Bassford, and he's filling us in on a lot of information, and this is really good stuff. He's going to be our guest once a month, and we're going to get your wife to come on with us one time soon.
Yes, sir. Absolutely. Looking forward to it.
Okay. So let's, you were talking about some other things too. The amberjack or?
Yes, sir. I mean, just fishing's going off right now, and back to the reef fish. One thing that's on the agenda for the next commission meeting down in Sarasota in June is greater amberjack. They're going to talk about and move toward increasing the size limit from 30 inches to 34 inches at the fort. And couple of reasons they're doing that. First off, the federal regulations, they're going to increase theirs to 34, and for the most part, on size limits and bag limits, FWC tries to stay consistent with the federal regulations. That way you're not 8 miles offshore and you have one size limit, and then you go 12 miles offshore and have another. So we try to keep that consistent, and that helps out enforcement and the angler too.
Okay. And that's going to be a pretty good adjustment right there.
It is. It's going to bump it up. Yeah, 4 inches is 4 inches, and we all know a 30-inch amberjack's a nice size AJ. And going to 34 now, that's going to increase it. And the second reason they're doing that is, like a lot of our fish, to make sure the fishery is healthy and that the fish can breed, they want to make sure fish are at their breeding age or breeding size before they're harvested. So based on the information that we've heard from the biologists, some of the amberjack, really they don't start reaching sexual maturity until they get up to about that 30, 32 inch. So they want them to get to that before they're harvested. And that's not in effect now. Just want to let everyone know that it's still 30 inches at the fork, but that's on the agenda for the next commission meeting. Amberjack closes June 1st through July 31st, and when it reopens, it's likely that they'll try to go ahead and get that increased size limit. So until the closure, it's still 30 inches, but that's something coming up.
Okay, good point.
So if you want to go catch an amberjack in state waters, you might want to go ahead and do it because it's going to be hard to get one 34 inches. Let's see, next thing. I touched on this last time, and I just want to remind everyone because it just changed here in the beginning of May, red grouper down to 2 fish, and that was another thing going consistent with the federal regulation, went from 4 fish to 2 fish. And then the next thing we've got open in reef fish wise, and we can move to some freshwater stuff, is gag grouper. It's still closed, and a lot of people are going to catch those when they're out snapper fishing or fishing for red grouper, but it opens July 1st. And the cool thing this year, just like last year, from July 1st through July 12th, you can catch your red snapper, vermilion snapper, red grouper, gag grouper. You can catch almost all your snapper and grouper together.
That's I won't call that you're here for 12 days of Christmas. I call that 12 days of fishing right there.
Exactly.
We need to make sure your calendar has that.
Exactly. It's nice when you pull up on a wreck or a bottom spot and keep all your nice snapper and grouper. Let's see. And I guess we can touch on, the next commission meeting is going to be June 23rd down in Sarasota, and go over a couple more things here. A new thing they're going to come out with and they're going to talk about is they're going to change some regulations to black bass. Okay. And all the black bass, that includes Swanee, shoal bass, spots, and largemouth. And Florida is known for great bass fishing, and they say we're the bass fishing capital of the world. They want to keep it that way, and they want to make sure we have a lot of healthy and a lot of big fish. That's what a lot of people come to Florida to catch. And actually, the Florida largemouth is genetically unique to the state of Florida. When we talk about the peninsula of Florida, the ones we have up here in the Panhandle are a little different, but those ones from, say, around the Big Bend all the way south, those are special fish, and they've actually taken those fish and they've stocked them at different places all over the world. Texas, they've even taken them to Japan to grow big bass. And this new regulation they're going to come out with, they're going to try to simplify the rules to bass, because right now we have different regulations in the Panhandle, we have different regulations in Central Florida, South Florida, and even Lake Okeechobee. I was telling Coach Chester here before the show, I had a funny story when I was down south. I'd only been out of the academy a couple weeks, and I checked some guys that were freshwater fishing, and they had some largemouths, and they probably had 3 or 4 that were only 8 inches long. And I was born and raised on Deer Point Lake. I was like, you can't have those, they can be 12 inches. So I took a step back and I talked to my training officer. He said, actually, they can have them, because down there you can still have 5 fish like you can up here, but you can only have one over 14 inches. So if you want to have 4 or 5 that are only 7 or 8, it's actually legal down there.
I don't know why they want to keep something like that.
Exactly. It's small, but a lot of times they're catching them to eat, and then if you jump over to Lake Okeechobee, it's different over there too. So
you have all those different regulations in different spots.
Exactly.
I guess it's hard to
so they're just So they're just going to try to make them more consistent, and we don't have any details on that yet, but it's in the works, and it's probably going to be implemented sometime at the end of this year or next year.
Okay, very good, very good.
Yep.
Now, do you see, speaking of bass fishing, you hit saltwater and freshwater. And
yes.
This spring, have you seen some good bass being brought in?
I have, yeah. Well, when they were spawning there back earlier in the spring, there were some good catches coming in. I saw, I believe they caught a new record shoal bass over there on the river this year.
They did, yeah. Yeah, and also caught, I mentioned on the show yesterday, a record flyer up there in.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I want to say it was Holmes County, Jackson County.
Good deal. That's real good freshwater fishing up there.
Yeah. Okay, we're going to take our final break, come back with, we're going to have our case of the month, and come back with several other points here. All right. Hi, welcome back. FWC offers Travis Bassford as our guest this morning. Let's get to our fishing game times first, though. Brought to us by Mark Coward of Edgewater Beach Realty. Mark's number is 832-6000. Mark's a really good fisherman. He and his son Michael, good folks. Okay, our time 8:07 to 10:07 this morning, and this evening from 8:28 to 10:28. So put those times on your calendar today. All right, so let's pick up where we left off. I tell you what, let's go ahead and talk. The third segment, we just started a little tradition here with Ken over the years. The third segment, we'll do our case of the month.
Okay.
And man, he's brought some funny ones in here, some crazy ones, and serious ones, and the whole category. So you got us a case of the month?
I sure do. I sure do.
There you go.
I don't know if it's going to be the funniest one, but it was a
when
good
I say
case.
Funny, I'm talking about just human nature, how people can be so dumb, you know?
Yeah, sometimes. The case this week, or for the past month of May, there was a good case made in Gulf County, and it was on reef fish again. It was Officer Jason Litford and Matt Webb. They were offshore, and they stopped a boat, did a boating safety saltwater fisheries inspection, and this was before red snapper season, and there were some people out there trying to get an early start. And they had actually 9 snapper in the closed season, and all 9 were undersized. So,
oh my goodness!
Exactly. So they addressed the violation and took the fish there.
So they didn't try to fillet them or anything, did they? They didn't try to hide them.
No,
they had a whole fish there.
They had them right there. So I guess they figured they'd try their luck. So
it amazes me.
Just trying to get a little early start. But
all right. So good deal.
Yep.
So,
it was a good case.
And you stop and think now. Just that one case right there. You stop and think if we didn't have laws and regulations, or if we didn't have people to enforce laws and regulations, people would do that all the time, and you wouldn't have any fish left. It's as simple as that.
That's right.
It really is.
That's right, and that's what keeps most people from violating. A lot of people aren't going to do it no matter what, but a lot of people it's the fear of being caught. So
yeah,
that's why we're out there. Just want to make sure everyone follows the rules.
Yeah.
But one thing I wanted to talk about too, real quick, Coach, is this past weekend, we want to make sure everyone's safe on the water, boating safety, make sure everyone's got their life jackets and all your safety gear. But one thing we saw a lot of this weekend were dive flag violations. And, we have a lot of tours here associated with bottlenose dolphins. And sometimes those tours, they'll go off Shell Island or in the bay, they'll see the dolphins, and they'll put their clients in the water and put a dive flag up. If you see a dive flag, then you need to stay at least 300 feet. That's a football field away.
There you go.
When you're running your vessel. And we saw a lot this weekend, whether it be jet skis or boats, and coming inside that radius, and it's dangerous. That's how people get hit.
Yes.
And we had a person get run over last year over in Okaloosa County, and we just want to make sure everyone's careful with that, because you got a lot going on out there when you're on a boat, but when you see that dive flag, please slow down.
Yeah, and a lot of times it's the tourists and the folks that don't know any better rent these things and all. That's where the challenge is to you guys.
Correct.
But even with the locals, and we're just a little bit over a month away now from scallop season opening up on July 1, or really the weekend before July 1, and that's about 1 month away.
Yes, sir.
And we see it every year. I talk about it here on the show because I'm on St. Joe Bay a lot in the summer, and I just see people just, they're just looking straight ahead, and their flags out all over the place. And they just boom, and it's crazy.
Right, and that's going to be very, very busy when scallop opens up over there. And also for the boaters that see the dive flag, but also for the divers, go ahead and before you get in the water, if you're getting ready to jump in the water with a mask and snorkel, and or if you obviously if you have scuba, go ahead and put that dive flag up. Go ahead and have it up.
Yeah. Make
sure it's the proper size. Make sure you have a stiffener so if the wind's not blowing, it's still visible to boaters out there.
Let me ask you this: are y'all seeing more violation on the Gulf side or in the Bay system?
Are you talking about with dive flags or
dive
just in
flags,
general?
yeah.
We usually see more in the Gulf, actually.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
Right along Shell Island.
Yeah.
As long as it's not too rough, that seems to be a real popular spot. The water gets real electric, emerald green out there, and that seems to be a very popular spot and a problem area. So everyone just be careful out there with dive flags.
Well, you brought up something on violations. You said, okay, on violations, you have more in the Gulf or in the inshore, in general, or
that right there goes both ways. I'll tell you, yes, sir.
Yeah.
It does.
Yeah.
It goes both. And then, real quick, I want to talk about something. It's something kind of neat and different that FWC is going to do this year. They're talking about it at the June Commission meeting in Sarasota. You know, we do have spiny lobsters up here, but when you talk about mini season and limits, usually that's down to South Florida. A lot of people go to the Keys. But one thing they're going to do is they're going to, for mini season this year, if you shoot or kill 10 lionfish during one of the days of mini season, they're drafting a rule right now that's going to allow you to keep one extra spiny lobster over your bag limit.
Oh.
So it's kind of a way where, you know, FWC's been pushing this for several years now. Lionfish is an invasive species. They're causing damage to the fishery and our reefs offshore especially, and they want them removed. And they've implemented rules where you can take lionfish without a fishing license, and now if you kill 10 lionfish, then they're going to let you have an extra lobster.
That's
that day.
interesting.
So, yeah, we'll have to see how that goes because it's gonna be a little different, but it just encourages people to go ahead and take this invasive species, and then it rewards them by adding a lobster to their bag limit.
That's very interesting.
So they're going to try to get that approved, and it'll be in effect in mini season. Now, up here we don't see as many limits, but if you got a good lobster spot and you want to shoot some lionfish, maybe you could have an extra one.
That's good stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, we've got about a minute. What you want to close out with? You got anything else going on?
Yeah, we can talk about scallops because it's coming up.
Right around the corner. It's going to be there before you know it.
It is, and they're going to open it just a hair early this year on June 27th.
Okay.
A very popular spot, St. Joe Bay. And remember, although we are having some scallops come back here in Bay County, there are some scallops in Bay County. Bay County waters are still closed to harvest. So even if you see them down there, let them lay if you're in Bay County.
Yeah. I think it's at the Mexico Beach line coming up, you know, right past Mexico Beach. That includes Crooked Island Sound now. You don't want to get scallops over there either. So.
Yes, sir. That's correct.
All right, we're about to run time. Travis, you did a good job, son.
I appreciate it. I appreciate it.
He's still a rookie, but as a rookie, I did real well. But that's good stuff. And we have a Mosley boy coming on with the force now, another Mosley boy.
We do. He's just started. He's doing a real good job.
Got a good connection with FWC. We're putting down the pipeline.
Oh, yeah.
All right. And folks, y'all always check out your website. Make sure you know the laws and rules and regulations, and make it easy on these guys. They're trying to help everybody. Got to go do something good for someone else, and God bless.
Thanks for joining us for Panhandle Outdoors with Winston Chester. Panhandle Outdoors features hunting, fishing, and other activities and information to help you enjoy the great outdoors. Join us next time for Panhandle Outdoors.